now. We are joined by our guest, Cameron Cochems, who, Cameron, thank you for being here, and to talk about this. I know I have TSA union rep on there. I know it's much more, a much bigger title than that. So if you wouldn't mind, Cameron, could you just start off, and just let us know a little bit about yourself and the organization as a whole?
Sure. So I'm a lead transportation security officer, but I'm also the regional vice president for TSA for the American Federation of Government Employees, Local 1127, and that's the union that represents TSA officers in the state of Oregon.
And for the TSA right now, can you, for people who, I'm sure people have some understanding, but just over these last several months, let alone last year or two, it seems like you and your members have been at the forefront of a lot of these shutdowns that have happened. And as far as not getting paid and different things like that, can you give somebody an overview of that?
Yeah, so just to start out, there's been a lot. Most federal employees around the country have been affected by shutdowns or layoffs or all these different things. But it's really affected TSA officers a lot during the last 6 months. So we had a shutdown from October 1st to the middle of November. And so that whole time we didn't get a paycheck. And so then we got like 3 paychecks all at once, which is nice that we get the guaranteed pay at the end of the day. But there have been threats from Congress to not get that sometimes. And so it's really on the back of people's mind that, like, hopefully we're going to get this money. And then so we had that. And then we are currently in another shutdown I don't even know how long it is at this point, but it started on Valentine's Day and it's been going on since then. And so we have been getting, we got our first paycheck on April 1st, I'm sorry. And then we got another paycheck a couple days ago. But there are still people around the country who are missing pay periods. I'm missing at least 40 hours of pay. And we just got an email today saying that they can't guarantee paychecks moving forward because they could potentially run out of the funds that they are using for us. So it's really stressful. People can't plan vacations. They can't, that's at the easy things, you just can't plan your vacations, but then you also have to decide, okay, maybe I have to cut back on certain groceries or eating out. Maybe I can't pay my utilities, or there's some people that even had to call out because they couldn't afford daycare for their kids.
Yeah, I mean, you just think about everything that you need to get through life, and even just missing 40 hours, that's a tremendous amount of money, for people to not have in their hands, and let alone not be able to plan, not knowing when that's coming forward. So given, that's where we're at, what's the feeling like been among TSA union members? You mentioned that some people having to call out for childcare. Have you seen some people quitting, or generally, I guess speaking, what is the overall temperature of the room for when it comes to the union members?
I think people are stressed out. I describe this as a natural disaster. Imagine if a flood came through your town. There's going to be some houses that aren't really affected because they live in the foothills, and there's other people that live right next to the water whose houses could be washed away. And that's what's kind of happening with our officers across the country, is that there are people who, live paycheck to paycheck and are single income families who it's really affected them. And, there are people who are getting evicted or possibly not being able to renew their leases because of all the late payments they've done, where there are other people who have the savings and the finances to weather the storm. But I mean, across the board around our country, there's not a lot of people. There are quite a few people that live paycheck to paycheck. And if it can happen to federal employees, I think it can happen to a lot more people around the country.
And when it comes to actual job performance, as we were just looking at, right there at, footage of TSA members, doing their work, which is very important to the travel in this country, how much of a stress does that put on you, not only because of the lack of paychecks, but also potentially the lack of fellow employees or the staff to actually manage all the things that you do?
I mean, it's tough if you think of any job. If you're understaffed and you're losing your coworkers, you're gonna have to put more work on yourself. And so that's the same with us, where if people quit, which there's people around the country that are looking for other jobs because they don't want to go through this again, which I don't blame them. Unfortunately, we have a really bad job market right now. But there are people that have quit. In Salt Lake City, we've lost a couple of our union representatives and stewards because of this, and it definitely puts something on the back of your mind when you're working that you have to just try to push away. But it's definitely hard on people.
What do you think is the most important thing that the general public should know about what's going on from your perspective there in the TSA?
I think from my perspective, I've seen so many people supportive of us during the last couple months. I've had people shake my hand, say thank you. We got so many gift card donations across the country. And so that's been really appreciative. And it's interesting. Before, people used to say if they worked for TSA and they met someone at a bar or somewhere else, they would say, "Oh, I work for the Department of Homeland Security." But that's the opposite now. People say, "I work for TSA," because we, for some reason, I don't know, we're like the most popular agency in the country. It doesn't seem like it, but that's probably aside from like NASA and the Forest Service. But I think what people should take away is that it shouldn't be like this. We shouldn't have to be donating to our federal employees just so they can pay rent and make food for their families and stuff like that. So we shouldn't accept what's going on. We get these jobs to provide stable incomes for our families and protect the traveling public. And when we can't do that successfully because of what's going on in DC, that should frustrate people.
Has there been any indication that, I know, just to go back through this again too, because I think for a lot of people, they saw that there was the declaration that TSA would be paid and that some of those payments came out. And just to go back into that, you said that some of it came, some of it didn't. It sounds like a little bit sporadic around the country on as far as who did get paid and how much of that back pay came through. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. And that, I think, just goes to HR across the country, have to do all these things manually, and it's difficult. I don't think it's anything nefarious.
Gotcha. So just it's doing things in a different way, and that's putting a tax on all of those people who are trying to do it, as far as not an actual financial tax, but literal working a lot harder to get all of this through.
Yeah, I've heard of people getting double insurances taken out, which that has to be fixed, and differentials not being paid that are being paid, and so it's not the norm. So things have to get fixed eventually.
Yeah.
So,
well, going forward from where we are right now, with still uncertainty, I think, out there for a lot of what's going on when it comes to the federal government for a number of reasons, what's the next step forward here for you guys?
The next step forward for the union specifically, the president's proposed budget for 2027 came out, and they talk about wanting to privatize a lot of our smaller airports around the country. And so that's our big push now, is we're going to go to city council meetings, talk about the importance of non-private airports, because when you have private airports, the first thing they do is they're going to cut pay, cut benefits, because that's how they make money for their businesses. And so when those things happen, you're going to get less adequate people, which we should prioritize screening, not profits. And so that's going to be our big push, to go around the country to all these small cities like Bend and Medford to do that. All
right. Well, Cameron, thank you very much for joining us to talk about this and just everything that's going on there with you all. And is there anything else important that you want to get out there?
Call your representatives, tell them to fund the government, and that this is unacceptable, I would say, is a big thing. And I think saying thank you to TSA officers goes a long way. We are just federal employees, but we're also your friends, your neighbors, your family members, and most employees are that. So.
All right. Well, Cameron, thank you very much for being here with us. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Good to see you, Greg.
Good to see you too. And for everybody watching, this is Fox 12 Now. As I mentioned, we're live streaming here. We get to have these longer conversations like that. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to continue on. We'll be here throughout the afternoon. And if there's breaking news, we'll have that for you as well. So stick right with us on whatever platform you are. We'll talk to you in a couple minutes with more Fox 12 Now.